everyone, this is Nate coming at you with my part 2 video in the programming models, theory and concepts videos. Today we're going to continue talking about programming models, and like I said, this is a continuation of my last video, so if you haven't seen my last video, you should probably check it out before viewing this one. It's not going to matter, but you might get a little confused amongst the middle of the information, so and before we continue, make sure you to get out those notepads as well as pens, and let's get started. So ultimately, there are two types of programming models. There are structured programming models as well as object-oriented programming models. Now, structured programming is a procedure-based technique. So it emphasizes functions or methods rather than the actual data. Object-oriented programming is a new approach, and it emphasizes data rather than functions or procedures. So if you don't know what a method or function is, it's a particular form of procedure for accomplishing tasks. Although these programming models are similar, the main difference is with a go-to statement from the structured programming model. This statement relocates your position within the code. Object-oriented programming models consist of objects, classes, methods, and hierarchies, which you typically don't see in structured programming. So let's take a deeper look at the object-oriented programming model in a little more detail. So object-oriented programming, if I haven't said it enough, consists of classes and objects. These classes can be considered the definitions for an object and may contain data or procedures. Objects, on the other hand, just happen to be instances of classes. Now this sounds confusing, so I'm going to try to throw in one or two examples for you. So the best way I can describe this is to think about a simple shape program on your computer. This program's only purpose is to display shapes. That's it. These shapes range from maybe a circle to a square or even a triangle. Each one of these shapes would be considered an object. The circle is an object, the square is an object, and the triangle is an object. These objects are said to be an instance of a particular class. In other words, how can they be categorized? Well, circles, squares, and triangles are all considered shapes. So in this case, they might all belong to one class called a shape. This class defines the objects that you see on the screen. So if you still are a little confused, here's another example. Let's say you're sitting in a classroom. You and your friends are all sitting there while your teacher teaches. And you even have a pet classroom on the windowsill. It's a goldfish. It's pretty cool. So you as a person would be an object. Your friends would be an object. Even your teacher and your class pet are objects. However, you all might belong to different classes or categories. So you and your fellow students might belong to the student class. Since you're all learning, you're younger, you're all the same age, you can be categorized in that class. Or your teacher might belong to the employee class. Well, why employee class, you say? Well, your teacher doesn't happen to be quite a student, but she's still in the same classroom. And considering she works for the school, you might have a class called employee for her and her fellow teachers. This is kind of how object-oriented programming works. We map everything we see to real-world objects and scenarios. So hey, that was everything for this video. I'll catch you in the next video. Make sure to review everything we talked about in this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.